Episode 124, and in a period that we have labeled as kind of a dead period. This is our third episode in the last week.
Yeah, this is the most I remember recording in a long time. Even during the season, we'd be a little sporadic at times.
It's too much. I see both of you enough. This is...
Yeah, I was going to jump out of the meeting right now after realizing that. God.
Well, you almost didn't show up to the last one anyway, so...
I was like 5 minutes late, guys. Apologies.
Well,
Jonah cut me out of the clip.
I was going to say, you weren't in the one clip we posted with the last episode.
I posted the clip to social media, and like probably an hour later, because this is like midday, so Christian was at work, but I could tell he had seen it. I get a text from him like an hour later. He's like, Jonah, was that before I showed up to the meeting? I'm like, yes, I did not cut you out from the conversation. That was before you joined.
Like, I was so confused. I was like, wait, I know I was only like 5 minutes late, but at the same time, I was like, did I like miss a Zoom or something?
You missed the best part.
Because I also was like, I don't
guess.
remember talking about it, obviously. But yeah, like I said, I'm a walking liability. You gotta take your chances when you can cut around the script.
Well, that one was funny because we spent a whole episode obviously answering questions, and I think there were a few fun clips I could have posted, but a large part of the episode revolved around like changes to the coaching staff and front office, and those takes became outdated less than 24 hours after we posted the episode, so I kind of had to find something that like was still kind of fresh and new. So
TSR jinx.
Had it again. I had like 3 of these in the last week. I mean, the episode itself, probably a jinx because the Kekalainen news happened the next day when the Bills dropped all of their front office changes, which looking back should have, made sense. They were clearly saving their front office changes for that day. But the Bills posted theirs first, and immediately we go, well, that'd be nice to have over here. And then what do you know? We got one over here. The Bills had like 15, but we got our guy.
Yeah, the Bills had 15, but we had one pretty big acquisition, if I do say so myself.
I agree. So here we are, third episode in a week, and it's a big one. It's for the first time in the Adams tenure like this, they are adding a pretty legit name to the front office core. Jarmo Kekalainen is your senior advisor for the Buffalo Sabres, the former general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's your guy.
And he will be reporting to Kevyn Adams.
I was going to say.
They did make that very
maybe
clear.
Just be a figurehead.
They established the pyramid pretty, and they might have said it in the original tweet. I need to see.
Pretty sure they did, yeah.
Hold on. Yep. We have hired Jarmo Kekalainen as senior advisor. Kekalainen will report to GM Kevyn Adams and will be involved in all areas of the hockey department.
You think Adams will just be on a phone call with like another GM trying to make a trade, and he'd just be like, hold on one second, Jarmo, what do you think we should offer him? He's like, yeah. No, I got it.
All right, what should I say next?
Just give me the damn phone. I'm excited about this. I was like I said, our old episode was outdated pretty quick, but I'm pumped for the first time in a while. Hopefully this bleeds into the off season with whatever they try and do in free agency.
Yeah, it's funny. We brought him up. We would like bring him up every time in the conversation as one of the main names, just because it made a lot of sense. He's very clearly a former GM that is looking for his next GM job, and with there only being 2 general manager openings in the league, over the past month, which was LA and in Long Island, you knew that, former GMs were going to be available to be hired. And, once Ken Holland got the job in LA, and then once the Islanders landed their guy, there was names still available, and he was still to the end. I think we brought him up last episode. Still, I think we name dropped him as a guy that could be brought in, but the rhetoric that we had was, it's kind of feeling like no former GM actually wants this job. So it was almost like Kekalainen was almost more of a placeholder for who they were actually going to hire. But to actually see them do it, I mean, it feels good. It feels really good. This is a guy that has no connection to the organization whatsoever. It's a fresh face, fresh name coming in and filling a role that has needed to be filled for a long time, but finally is now.
And I feel like they legitimately did it like right at the buzzer. Like I don't even
Combine
feel like
started today.
that's what I mean. I don't feel like what we were said in our last episode was wrong, because like if you weren't gonna do it this weekend, like there's no point doing it at all.
It was pointless.
Yeah.
It was very pointless. Yeah.
So I'm glad that Jarmo got 3, maybe 2 days with our staff, and now is going to be at the combine.
It's like, all right, let's get to work.
I was gonna say, in classic JP college fashion, where you going out to a party, he's like, wait, I got this assignment I got to get done. It'd be like 11:45. It's due in 15 minutes. At the buzzer, gets it in. But yeah, this does it. Just chalk it up in the win column. We don't get too many of those. Excited. Let's hope this means more good things to come. But knowing our luck, they'll do nothing else.
Well, hopefully that's what he's going to change. I mean, his 10 years as GM as the Blue Jackets, he was aggressive. He made some big moves in a small market. So I'm hoping that's what he's able to, push Kevyn Adams in the direction of, and help him make some big moves that we need to make, and that Kevyn hasn't had the guts to make.
So from the Sabres themselves, the press release that they put out once they made the announcement, the Buffalo Sabres today announced the team has hired Jarmo Kekalainen as the team's senior advisor in his role, as we alluded to earlier. Kekalainen will report to GM Kevyn Adams and will be involved in all areas of the hockey department. This is a quote from Adams himself. As we navigated the process of hiring for this role, it very quickly became apparent that Jarmo was an ideal candidate to augment our front office. From his extensive history in scouting, long tenures in NHL GM, and vast experience at international and European pro levels, Jarmo has a remarkable resume and a long history of success in this league. I spoke with a number of candidates about this role, and it's clear to me that Jarmo is a perfect fit for our team. So, some strong words of encouragement from Kevyn Adams, and this quote from Kekalainen. Kevyn and I already had a strong working relationship from my time with the Blue Jackets. Obviously, he's referring to his time as GM. And when we first started talking about this opportunity, it immediately felt like a natural fit. We are aligned in our philosophies and share the same core beliefs on how to build a winning team. I'm eager to help in any area I can and think I can offer a fresh perspective to supplement the staff already in place as we look to improve our roster this offseason.
Imagine we find out that he just worked under Seth Appert randomly.
He's probably just delivering coffees this week, let's be honest. Just trying to get acclimated.
Yeah, double tall, non-fat, thanks. Now who should we go get? Another Beck Malenstein? It's like, Seth, why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be coaching?
Last trade that the Blue Jacket, well, it might have been the only trade actually. The only trade that possibly Adams and Kekalainen might have made was for Eric Robinson.
Yep.
Man, that was some Crest loyalty right there. Eric Robinson, kind of a gem. I'm not going to lie.
Good soldier.
Good soldier, as we always say.
Yeah, I believe so. Eric Robinson, December 6th, 2020. I think, was that in reaction to the 9-4 loss at home? Was that like the day after?
It was in
to
reaction
Kekalainen's
to
Blue
something.
Jackets?
Oh, I don't know about that, but I know
God,
we
that
weren't
was so
playing good,
funny.
and that was the solution.
Oh, it was there. Well, yeah, I don't know if it was directly after the game. It was very shortly before. Very funny stuff. But that is right. Kekalainen is your senior advisor for the Buffalo Sabres and was the Blue Jackets general manager from 2013 all the way to February of last year, I believe it was. February, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But he was fired by the Blue Jackets last season. but has a long tenured role in the NHL. 15 seasons in multiple front office roles with the Ottawa Senators and St. Louis Blues. He started as a scout with the Senators in 1995-96, which means I'm pretty sure he's the only person in this front office who has been tenured in hockey longer than Jason Karmanos.
Wow, going back that far. You said he was a scout, right? A scout in Ottawa, 95-96?
Started as a scout while simultaneously serving as general manager of HIFK in Liga.
You think he
was
may have been
multitasking.
You think he may have been to the Odd? Could have been. Could have been there in the final season. Never know. It's kind of weird to think about, too.
It's not like it was demolished in the 70s.
No, but still, like 95, 96, it was still 30 years ago.
Yeah. He was named Director of Player Personnel for the Senators in 1999 before joining the Blues as Director of Amateur Scouting in 2002. He was an assistant GM to the Blues in 05-06. He was named assistant GM in 05-06 with the Blues. Some of his draft picks are mentioned here. Lars Eller, first overall pick Eric Johnson, TJ Oshie, David Perron, Alex Pietrangelo. Pretty good resume, I would say.
Eric Johnson pick was money.
So yeah, Jarmo Kekalainen, as we were kind of alluding to, the initial reaction is just it's satisfaction in the fact that they actually got a legitimate name. Like there are people are going to look at that hire and be like, wow, the Sabres got Jarmo Kekalainen. And it was the first time, which I feel like in forever, where even national media and just outside voices were going like, wow, like that's a good hire for the Sabres, which was really it's kind of refreshing. You don't. It's kind of doesn't happen too often these days. So
it doesn't happen at all. It's kind of nice not getting kicked in the stomach for once, even if it's just a small victory.
So, Kekalainen, the main thing you want to analyze with him is going to be the tenure as GM. Because that, at the end of the day, that's what we knew from the start of this process when people were reporting that the Sabres wanted a former GM in this position. It was they wanted that former GM. So Kekalainen, 11 years as GM of the Blue Jackets. And JP alluded to it before. He loved going for it. He had some pretty big trades throughout his tenure. Was not gun shy, to say the least, which is, even if, towards the end, it's not like he was firing off blockbuster as time went on. But, he's got that history, he's got that resume, and by the time he was finishing up with the Blue Jackets, they weren't really in that window to go all in. When they were in that window, such as like in 2019 when he traded for Matt Duchene and Ryan Dzingel at the deadline for Artemi Panarin's and Sergei Bobrovsky's last run in Columbus, he knew that was it. He knew it was time to go all in, and secured some pretty decent pieces for that team. So it's encouraging that he has that resume.
Yeah, I know it wasn't completely in his control, but Johnny Gaudreau, that was a big signing for the Blue Jackets. I know, part of the reason that he signed there was because of his family, but that was a complete shock. I believe there was like a draft pick that they made that I know like Paul Hamilton and I saw some other people on Twitter saying, it was a shock to the room, but it ended up being, the right pick. So he's not afraid to be criticized. He likes to make those big moves, and it just makes it all the better that, he was in a small market team. So that's what we need. We need that mentality.
Yeah, this seems like the guy you want in Kevyn Adams' ear, and making sure he doesn't start talking about palm trees and state taxes. But yeah, as long as he could secure some big names in the offseason, and I'm not saying, just go full Tim Murray style out here, but just find a way to just get fans engaged again, make it a fun team, get a star, like get a big name or two. on this roster, or an additional name or two on this roster. Something where you could go into the season and you could be like, I have expectations again, because it always makes it more interesting watching the games and going to the games when there are those expectations.
By the way, it was the 2016 draft. He chose Pierre-Luc Dubois over who I believe
Dubois.
Everybody wanted was Jesse Puljujarvi.
Puljujarvi was like consensus 3, or he was like the name. Everybody immediately was like, oh wow, like, the Oilers got him at, what was he, 4th?
He was fourth, yeah.
So yeah, obviously Dubois. Obviously the tenure didn't end great there, but Jesse Puljujarvi is currently playing for an AHL Calder Cup right now, as opposed to Dubois, who was a key piece on Washington's roster this year. So kind of puts it in perspective there. But looking at like some of those big trades, I mean, less in like a few months into his tenure at the 2013 deadline, he goes out and trades a young player in Derek Brassard, who went on to have a pretty decent career for the Rangers and then the Senators. Traded him to get Marian Gaborik. I mean, a big name right off the bat. Like I said, it's a few months into his tenure. In 2015, less than a month after the Blackhawks won their 3rd Stanley Cup, he got Brandon Saad for nothing really big in return. Then January of 2016, he makes a huge hockey trade, trades out Ryan Johansson to get a young Seth Jones back, which obviously, a few years down the line, he would trade to Chicago for a wealth of picks. And then, the big trade, trading Brandon Saad along with Anton Forsberg to Chicago to get Artemi Panarin, who was probably still the best player in that franchise's history. It just at the time was another huge deal that he was able to swing. So
it sounds like Rick Nash erasure to me.
I guess. I'm sure. Not going to act like I have a strong opinion on what the all-time ranking is in Columbus, but obviously Panarin ended up being a huge player for them. Key part of that 2018 or 2019 sweep of the Blue Jackets. 2018 deadline, he acquired Thomas Vanek while loading up for a playoff run. 2019, as I said, Matt Duchene was like the biggest name at that deadline, aside from, was that when Mark Stone went to Vegas? I mean, I think that was when Ottawa was in full sell mode. So Duchene he got for not a lot. And then obviously the big Dubois-Laine trade, which, probably they came out on the worst end of, but it was still a trade he had to make. So a very, very eventful tenure full of big trades such as that. So I think the thing to come away with is that you have a resume with Kekalainen, and it's a resume that we'll see if it translates, but in the end, it's encouraging. The fact that he has a history with these trades, and like these bold moves the Sabres are definitely at the point where it's time to get bold. So, what did I want to touch on next? Well, I guess we can give a bit of more of a resume of Kekalainen. It wasn't until he was GM the Blue Jackets even had any playoff victories, period. Oversaw the first 2 playoff victories in 2014. 16-17 was the year of the Blue Jackets, a 50-win, 108-point season. The first of 4 consecutive playoff appearances. And then in, obviously, 2019, that was the big one. The first-round sweep of the 128-point Tampa Bay Lightning, the first series win in Columbus's franchise history.
Which led to one of the funniest tweets from Tampa Bay PR of all time about the words and not wanting to hear them.
Then in 2020, the only other, I guess, playoff series win, which I don't count because it was qualifying round, but obviously did end up beating the Maple Leafs in 5 games. In the wake, they had lost Artemi Panarin, obviously, and Sergei Bobrovsky. Matt Duchene was gone. Like, that roster was very much the, what was left, and they were still able to sneak into the playoffs and beat a Toronto team that was, they were all in that year. So impressive stuff. He oversaw the best period in Columbus Blue Jackets history, which is not a very high bar, but it's something that's on his resume.
Wait, so the Blue Jackets haven't the last time the Sabres made the playoffs, the Blue Jackets had 0 playoff wins, like period.
Yes.
Jesus.
Not a single game.
Moving on. JP, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, yeah, it might not be like the most playoff success, but I mean, a lot of playoff appearances there for, once again, I'll say it, a small market team. So I don't care if you're in that playoff success. I just want to get there. I just want the taste of it. So hopefully he could bring that over here.
In totality, a regular season record of 410, 362, and 97.
So that is a winning record, guys.
That's the NHL's winning record.
Yeah. I guess if you take the overtime losses into account, then it's not. But damn it, it's a winning record on paper.
This is why we should bring ties back.
I wouldn't hate it. I would not hate it.
People anytime I seem to say that, it's like some team needs to win. Like I don't think they do.
No,
not for the regular season.
Does every team in professional soccer win? No, there's so many ties.
The NFL. You have 16 games and they can end in ties.
The only time NFL games end in ties is when you have two shitty teams who don't want to score. Like last season, I think there was like 4 missed field goals in the one game that tied. Like,
it's always one of those games every year where it's just like back and forth, and like which team wants to lose the game, but neither team wants to.
It's better. It's better than losing to in the shootout. Like you can keep 3-on-3s, obviously, but like it's more of a abolish the shootout type thing. I'd rather end the game in the tie than watch a shootout. Which I know JP's one of 5 people that love the shootout.
If we had this rule in place, I don't think the Panthers would have had the run they've had, because
this is very true.
Would have had the final playoff spot that year if they went off of the 3 regulation.
I don't know what Pittsburgh's overtime shootout record was that season, because technically they were still ahead of the Sabres.
Either way, this could have all been different.
It's crazy. It's crazy to see the Florida Panthers' 3rd straight Stanley Cup final. History could have been altered if Alex Tuch was not offsides. Hurts.
Stop, man.
Or the kicking goal, or blank.
Or if the Sabres scored on a 6-on-3 with time winding down in that game.
You can't.
Nobody remembers that
specific thing.
I remember that part.
You're gonna lose sleep over that stuff. It's like you could go to any game they lost during the season, especially maybe during the 8-game losing streak.
I guess, but everybody knew the stakes of that one. That was like the game. That's the biggest Sabres game in the last decade, basically, which is sad.
Extremely sad.
Anyways. Interesting note by Mike Harrington. He was told that there may be other additions to the Sabres front office staff, and the team is planning to add more staff to its strength and conditioning department.
Let's go. That was the problem.
That's completely changed the strength and conditioning room, but don't change any of the actual coaching staff. Not the on-ice stuff, just the off-ice stuff.
At that point, this was clearly a conversation in the exit meetings with Terry. Like, do you think they were just like making up an excuse as they went? Now they have to stick to the bit. Now they have to act like they're actually addressing it. How much time do you think they spent on strength and conditioning during that exit meeting?
Way too much.
Because so far, we're 2 months into the off season, kind of. That's the most attention they've given thus far.
And I noticed during the season, like, they would post in the weight room. They never used to do that. That was like the first, like, I'd see a couple additional posts from them if it was in a game day or like a final. Like, I'd see like lifting posts, and I'd be like, that's like the first, this has got to be the first season they ever did that, because I don't remember that ever being the case.
Yeah.
Maybe whatever the guy's name they fired just took over PR and was like, look how good a job I'm doing, guys. He knows his ass is on the line. Didn't help.
So it will be interesting to see. I'm guessing, and this kind of plays into the coaching conversation, because obviously still no changes there aside from, rest in peace, Ed Gannon. Aside from him, that change, there's still been no assistant coaches fired or hell, even extended or, brought in, whatever. There's been zero changes, and I think there's more. Trying to find the word. Like it's more believable that maybe they were waiting for a coach or waiting for the advisor role to be filled and waiting on Kekalainen to have connections and have somebody that can maybe be brought in. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's maybe credible to believe that. I still think that's dumb because even in that scenario, you're talking about not giving Lindy the control there. But whatever. If you want to believe that, that's fine. But with the conversation of adding to the front office, I think that definitely plays a factor. I mean, Kekalainen was GM for 11 years. A lot of connections were made in that time, and I'm sure a lot of names could be brought in to help the Sabres and, keep building that hockey department, especially if they want to fill out the Bills' war room and not, leave it like 40% capacity while they're on national television this month.
They're going to get a taste of what a Sabres crowd looks like. 40% capacity.
I mean,
looking at empty seats.
I think back to the 2020 draft when they picked Jack Quinn. I think there were 6 people in the room. Kevin was there. Terry and Kim were there. I think Nightingale was there because he was the friggin' director of analytics by himself. I'm guessing Jerry Ford was there. So what's that? Is that 6? Is that 5?
Maybe the Zamboni driver. Might have been the only other guy employed.
The equipment room guy.
I would have to go back and look, but it was a tight operation, and even Powers draft, I don't think it was much bigger. So, and it's gonna be funny. I did see in the press release they're inviting like a bunch of scouts and AHL staff from all over the organization. So they're juicing the numbers. They know they got to fill that room.
Same thing that the Bills do. I mean, they have all their scouts and everyone in there, but it's definitely going to be.
I'm saying like AHL staff.
Yeah,
they're just there for show. They weren't involved in scouting meetings.
Yeah, the only thing I do wonder about them making more front office changes, maybe they are going to be waiting until like after the draft or after the start of free agency, just because obviously a lot of this front office has been working on this draft for a year now. So maybe they'll use up their knowledge, and then once, if they want to reorganize after that, I think it could make more sense. But, I mean, the coaching staff changes makes no sense. No excuse there, other than, if they are also doing their scouting, which it seems like Seth Appert does.
Seth Appert's traveling and coaching.
That was the rumor.
I don't know if they do end up making any additional changes to the coaching staff. I really doubt it's going to involve firing anyone. And if it does involve firing someone, it's going to be someone you probably would be like, what? Like who? What? That guy?
I think Wilford and Bales I think they're in danger of being fired.
I
do.
Agree.
Wilford was a Granado guy. Bales was was he a Kruger guy? Didn't he get here in 19?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, it's not like these were Kevyn Adams hires. I could still see that, but
I agree.
I know what you mean. Like it's kind of the same conversation we were just having a week ago. Like as time moves on here, it's like, okay, we're gonna do this. It's June 2nd. You're the only team that if you make a coaching change now, there's not gonna be any other teams following you. Everybody else has their staff by this point, unless you're the Florida Panthers or Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, it would suck to be them, right?
Yeah. I think the other interesting conversation with Kekalainen is like now that the dust has settled and he's the guy, and they got that legitimate person, and he's here. He's legitimately a part of the organization. It does speak to. It gives me hope for the offseason. Because you look at Kekalainen, this isn't even about his influence, like him actually. Because I think it's kind of funny to think about. Like if you're Kekalainen, if Kevyn Adams gets fired, you are the next GM, right? Like who? I mean, hey, maybe they give it to Karmanos or Ventura, maybe, but it's probably Kekalainen. So it's like, do you? Are you want to chip in?
Or they use him as a shield, and if they don't get it done next year, then they fire him and be like, it was his fault.
And they extend Kevin.
And then Kevin gets an extension. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. Don't. But it's funny, if you're him, do you bite your tongue or do you help the team? Now, obviously, you hope he helps the team, but you hope.
So you just start sabotaging shit. It's like, who's that Sam Lafferty guy? We need 3 more of those on our roster. Kevin, I swear this has worked for me before. We need to get more of that guy.
He just goes full Palpatine. He just starts. He builds for the future and then just ruins the current, so that when he comes in, everything's going his way.
Building for the future for the past decade.
Building for a year from now or whatever. Now that Kekalainen is here, it makes you think about what Adams and Pegula did talk about in those exit meetings, and with Lindy Ruff was there. It kind of seems like there was an acknowledgement of some sort that they needed help, like legitimate help. Basically, an acknowledgement that their path or their methods were not working, and that they do need a legitimate voice working alongside them. Which I do. That's like the sprinkle of hope that I think really comes through with this hire, because you're not bringing in Jarmo Kekalainen, getting it done before the combine deadline, not doing all that if you really wanted his input. And I don't think he would take this job if it was a title only, zero power job. I think he's going to be involved. You hope he is. And I guess that is what gives me hope, that you have, for lack of a better term, you have an adult in the room. You have somebody who is legit. He's the one guy now who has been there and done it before. He did it for 11 years.
You have a babysitter now after 5 years of a bunch of toddlers running around.
That's what we've been calling it. It's the babysitter role.
Yeah. I think it just screams this sense of urgency. I mean, we've probably been saying this legitimately for 2 off seasons now, that if Kevin doesn't have a good off season, it might be gone. He needs to make some big moves. But I think this kind of alludes to that they know this is make or break now. They can't mess up anymore, or a lot of stuff is going to change, and including Kevin, and Lindy's going to be gone. It'll be a completely different front office and coaching staff next year if this doesn't work.
Okay. Trying to think. Is there anything else Jarmo related that we wanted to touch on?
I just want to shout out, it seems like he was on Sabres Twitter before he was getting hired.
It makes a lot of sense
which
now.
Which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's very funny.
He tweeted something once he was hired, and I believe Joe Marino of Charging Buffalo Jarmo followed him the week before, and he noticed it and didn't think much of it. And
this was months. No, this was
months ago.
This was
longer than a week ago.
I don't know if you don't remember this, because this was a whole. People were like, "Oh my God, is he gonna join the organization?" And we all thought it was just a nothing burger. But it's funny. He's on here. He's lurking.
That means he could have seen our tweets. I mean, think about it that way.
He forgot to log into the burner.
Is it giving Ralph Kruger at the bar vibes? Maybe a little bit, but I have a good feeling about this one this time.
Just a tad.
One might have been made up. The other one, he was definitely on Twitter.
That guy was just a perennial liar.
All right, so we're feeling good about Jarmo. We'll see where it leads. If it'll be cool to see if if he does pull some strings to get players in here. Somebody like Gavrikov has been at the top of a lot of lists for defenseman UFA additions, and that was a player that came up with the Blue Jackets. Jarmo signed to a couple deals, so who knows? Maybe it has some influence down the line. We shall see. It's nice. It's nice that for the first time in this Adams era, there is somebody with zero relation to the organization coming in with more actual general manager experience. So feels good. Feels very, very good. All right. The other thing that made today a little bit interesting. Matthew Fairburns, who we gave him a little love last episode because we were hyping up his writing. He does great work on the beat for the Sabres, for The Athletic. And he decided to kind of throw a grenade and everything. And
everything? What you mean? What's left? The rubble that's left? Yeah, let's bring the mood down.
I don't think. Here's the thing. Like, it was a great article, but at the end of the day, I think it was just confirmation of a lot of things that we've thought and what we've heard about. And in this sit down that he had with Kevyn Adams and with 10 former Sabres employees, he was able to piece together a story of a team that definitely went lean back in 2020 and 2021 and has not gotten back to the heights of, when he first bought the team in 2011. I mean, there are a few funny quotes in here about when he first bought the team. This was coming from a former exec that worked for the Sabres. It was like night and day as far as what we were able to do with resources under Terry. The amount of scouting, traveling to scout, more eyeballs on the players, more video, more amateur scouts, more development coaches. Everything was multiplied. And Fairburn brings up the work he did at completely transforming Penn State's program, and they just had a huge prospect commitment this week. Completely transforming that program. Obviously, we are a far cry from that Terry Pegula, and throughout this article, it's just a lot of lamenting and a lot of thoughts being thrown in, and a lot of comments by these former execs on Adams' experience to this point, or I guess lack thereof, because I didn't know this. He has an online degree from the University of Phoenix.
Hey, degree's a degree.
I guess.
A degree's a degree.
It's just funny because it's brought up in so many jokes.
I was going to say, that's the one, like, of all the online universities.
That's the joke
one. It has to be that one.
That and what is it? What is the other one? New Hampshire University or Grand Canyon, whatever it's called. It's always, why is it in the Southwest? Grand Canyon, University of Phoenix, whatever. Just, that's besides the point. The man has a college degree, good for him, but he hasn't done a good job in the past 5 years. It's been okay, at best.
So yeah, a lot of insight into overall just Kevyn Adams and Terry Pegula's relationship. Another paragraph in here, with COVID grinding the sports world to a halt and the Sabres outside of the playoffs for 9 straight season, Kim Pegula gave then general manager the infamous public vote of confidence in an interview with Associated Press. 3 weeks later, Kevyn Adams got a call from Terry Pegula, who asked him to get on a plane to Florida. A couple of days later, Botterill was fired and Adams was hired to replace him. There were no other candidates.
I just remember, man, that day he got fired. I'll never forget it because it was COVID. We were supposed to travel on vacation, but we didn't end up going, so we just kind of went to the lake. And I got the notification that he was fired, and it goes, "We've hired new acting general manager Kevyn Adams," and all the comments were like, "This is interim, right? Are you interim? Who is this guy? They got to do a search, right?" Nope. Yep. It was he just got the job. Did he even interview for it? Did he apply for it? Did he bring a notebook? We'll never know.
In his first day on the job, Adams informed more than 20 people they'd been fired. Longtime scouts, high-ranking executives, and coaches in Rochester all heard from Adams that day. First-time GM was charged with rebuilding the hockey operations department.
It's a dark time, man.
Yeah,
it's a dark time.
Shameful.
There's a quote from one scout. "I think that's what rubs people the wrong way. He wasn't in Fargo watching a game. He wasn't in Medicine Hat watching a game. He wasn't at the U18s in Slovakia in August, missing family vacation. That's the grind. That's what pretty much everybody else did, unless your name is Joe Sakic." Which, yeah, I mean, it's like I said, this is recounting stuff we already knew. It's not new information that Kevyn Adams was clearly hired way too early in a executive career. He was not ready for that role. This was another interesting tidbit, though. Sabres executives vetted at least 2 candidates for potential senior advisor positions to help Adams back in 2020. This was back in 2020. But Adams said they couldn't find the right fit and isn't sure if anyone, or excuse me, this was from the scout. The scout said they couldn't find the right fit and isn't sure if anyone would have had experience with what the Sabres were about to go through. That is one way of putting it.
It leaves me speechless because it's not how an actual organization is supposed to operate. It's like, why is this happening to us? Of every team in the league, why us? It makes God, just wasted.
Fairburns funny, man. He's got, like, I can tell, a very dry sense of humor with his writing. Because he goes on to describe, like, the Taylor Hall signing. Hall had won the Hart Trophy 2 years earlier with a 39-goal, 54-assist season for the New Jersey Devils. The Sabres had failed to qualify for the expanded 24-team playoff during the pandemic, extending their playoff drought to 9 seasons. And then he goes right into, "We signed this guy," Pegula says to Adams in the behind-the-scenes video released by the Sabres. "We're not only trying to make the playoffs, we're trying to win the cup."
No, you got to play. Yeah. You got to play the quote on the soundboard,
you
bro.
Can't just,
you just got to.
It's just funny to see. Like, he did not have to put that in there. Just like the quote for quote thing. He even put in that. Yeah, Adams said. I mean, this is. Yeah.
Remind me, what does the quote say again? What did he say?
Hold on, booting up the soundboard.
He didn't even turn it on, folks.
We signed this guy. We're not only trying to make the playoffs,
Well,
we're trying to win the cup.
Yeah, I mean, this is, yeah.
Just so unsure of himself. I think two just, and I don't mean to say, but it just sounds like 2 idiots in a room just not knowing what they're doing. Just like,
well, I think
if we sign this guy, we're gonna win the cup. And
with
he's
Kevin
just like,
saying that,
I guess, bro.
I think Kevin had a very normal reaction.
Yeah, he
just
did.
being like, I mean, with knowing he had a microphone on him, because I feel like 99 out of 100 people's reactions would have been, "What?" And instead he had to kind of be like, yeah, of course.
That's what happens. You're talking to a higher up. You're talking to, the owner of the company, the owner of the organization. You're not going to say, "What are you talking about? Like, we suck."
You're not going to be like, "What the hell are you talking about, you idiot?"
You're just gonna be like, yeah, definitely, dude.
The only other thing we've done during this free agency is extend Gergensons for 3 years, sign Cody Eakin for 2, and sign Matt Irwin. What are you talking about, Stanley Cup?
But then go on to say what he put after the quote.
Good times.
I mean, directly after, he said, Hall signed with the Sabres and scored 2 goals and 19 points in 37 games before he was sent to the Bruins at the trade deadline. Buffalo finished in last place, and Adams fired Coach Ralph Kruger.
Way too late, if I should add. Ralph Kruger should have been fired. He should have never been fired. He should have never been hired to begin with.
Yeah.
He goes on to obviously get to the Eichel and the Reinhardt parts of it, and then there's this interesting part of the article. After having misguided Stanley Cup hopes this previous fall, Adams embarked on Buffalo's latest rebuild. One source described the situation in 2021 by saying, quote, "There was no plan." Which, I do think that's interesting, because when you trade Eichel and you trade Sam, you feel like the plan's pretty clear. Go young, lose some games, draft high. To say that there was no plan at all, that's telling. But at the same time, it does sort of make sense, because, your rebuild was sped up, and I know I say sped up in a funny way because they haven't done anything, but, Tage Thompson emerging out of nowhere as a first-line center, Jeff Skinner refining his touch, those in that 21-22 season, it kind of changed things along the way. So I guess, if you read deeper into it, like, yeah, no plan at all, that's not the craziest thing in the world.
Fair enough, yeah. It's just another... You're right, it is a dry sense of humor, but it is just funny the way these quotes just come one after another like this.
We're still going. During the 13-game winless streak that sank the Sabres season, Terry Pegula flew to Montreal to meet with the team and express confidence in the group shortly after Adams' Palm Trees News press conference. The next night, the Sabres lost 6-1 to the Canadiens.
I was in Florida for that, man, and I swear to God, that's the closest to me thinking like this team is just gonna end up relocating.
You know,
like this is just way too much.
You know who was also probably in Florida for that game? Terry Pegula, after he flew out to give a speech. He wasn't even at the game.
He was in Boca.
He was in Boca. Adams is just like, I have concepts of a plan.
Then we get to like the quote that it's a pretty ridiculous quote the more you think about it. But we'll start here. In a behind-the-scenes video of the Sabres trade deadline process, Ruff noted that the team's culture needed to change. In that video, Pegula is on a conference call multiple times throughout the day, weighing in on decisions. That offered a view into the dynamic between Adams and Pegula, a dynamic that other potential general managers might view as a red flag. And this is a quote from a former NHL executive. Any self-respecting GM who takes that job is going to say, I have to be able to run this for you. I know it's your team and I have to talk to you about things, but if I have to build a team and make decisions, but I have to be able to build a team and make decisions. If I have to run a simple Henry Jokiharju for a fourth by you, what are we doing here?
It's like, dude, why don't you just be the GM then? Jokiharju.
It's true. I mean, I remember
really?
I remember we joked about it because I think they were showing parts of the conference call during that embedded. I think it was for the Josh Norris thing. To an extent, it makes sense because it's a core altering
that one
trade.
makes sense.
But still, it seems with this, if you're having to run a Henry Jokiharju for a fourth-round pick by the owner every single time, I mean, let's start with Jokiharju alone. We could not, for the life of us, understand why the hell they brought him back this season. Why they paid him $3.1 million to sit on the bench like 2 months into the season. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it seems like that was a ownership-backed decision, for example.
It's funny because like as soon as Lindy comes in, like outside perspective, hasn't been in the organization for over a decade, just shows up and he's just like, wait a minute, how much are you making? And you play like this? Nah, bro. On the bench, you're sitting. We're all like, finally, we have a coach who is going to, like, he sees the obvious. He sees what isn't working, like Sam Lafferty, not working. Henry Jokiharju, not working. Why did you sign these guys? And it's also like the Girgensons thing. Like, we all love Zemgus Girgensons, but the only reason he was around for as long as he was is because the owner loved this guy.
Loved him to death.
Yep.
Like a son.
I remember from the embedded video, I remember that specific call when Kevin makes the trade with Yoki. He's literally on the phone with the Bruins GM, and he's like, for a fourth, okay, yeah, let me talk to the owner. Let me talk to the owner. Hung up, like, and then probably had to recall him, say, oh, yeah, we could do this for a fourth. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's emasculating. Like, if I had to do that job like that, I'd quit.
And think about it this way. Think about it this way. If that's been the process for the last 5 years, how many other moves, trades, signings, whatever you want to call it, how many things do you think never got across the finish line that were ready to get across the finish line? But because of that process, because maybe Terry didn't want to do it, maybe because they waited too long, because it became a decisive, a contentious like debate, because Kevyn Adams had to make the pitch to Terry, and that took time, and then the move just fizzled out. Like, how many times do you think that has happened over the last 5 years, or even like over the last 2 or 3? I mean, who knows? Maybe like the Marty Necas thing fell apart last year because of that exact thing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely prolongs the process. Like, I doubt that there's many things that like Terry would just say no to and say like, yeah, we're not doing this, just because I feel like if that was a consistent thing happening, so many people in the front office would probably legitimately quit and say, what are we doing here? but it definitely does prolong the process. I mean, Kevin's talked about in the past how he's been in so many discussions. We know he's been in discussions from rumors, from insiders, from Sabres insiders. Like, we know he's been in discussions, but stuff never gets past the finish line. And maybe you're right. Like, it's prolonging the process. Like, it's not ideal. Like, for big moves, I get it. Like, even in that Yoki Haru trade, if you're taking on cap, let's just say you're taking on $5 million in cap. So you're adding $2 million onto the payroll. Fine, if you want to check with the owner. But the fact that they were literally getting rid of payroll and just grabbing a pick, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm to piggyback off what you were saying. Yeah, I'm sure he's not around like 24/7, 365. Like, the man has other obligations too. But I'm sure he has the trade deadline and the start of free agency and the draft just circled on his calendar, and I'm sure he has a ton of opinions on a bunch of different stuff. Because most of the embedded stuff we see, it's around that time, and he's always around. So I'm sure he always loves to give his input whenever he can. And if it's something really organizational changing, I don't work in the NHL, obviously. So would I be wrong to say like something very major, like a major trade, you'd want to run it by the owner if you were like the Boston Bruins or if you were like the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I think definitely. Like trading a franchise captain and Brad Marchand, I'm sure the owner had to approve of it. But
I don't know.
You see it.
I don't even know, because that video. Remember Don Sweeney did that. Remember he walked in and told the staff that okay guys, it's done. This is what I did it for.
Like, he might have just done it by himself.
I really don't know. I don't.
Guess
think...
he was fired shortly after, so maybe.
Oh
no, he was extended, wasn't he?
Yeah, he wasn't. He was not
fired.
Extended.
He broke out a raise after that.
Unless it's major salary changes, and what's the point of bringing the owner in on it? You're hired to do the job. You shouldn't. I still feel like Dylan Cousins for Josh Norris is too low of a trade. I mean, I know it's it's a big trade, but it's not. At the end of the day, the guy's your second line center. I mean, it feels like Terry Pegula is very, like I said, this is all confirmation, basically. I mean, it was all there. It's in the embedded. It's there for us to see.
You see it not even just with the Sabres. You see it with the Bills, too. I mean, in any of their, obviously he probably doesn't have as much of a say, or, we just have a better front office with Bean, obviously. But in the Combine embedded videos, Terry's in there taking notes. Even at the draft, Terry's sitting next to Sean McDermott and sitting next to Brian and Bean talking the whole time, and you could see McDermott whispering things to him throughout the draft process. It's
got it on very good authority that every year he has his own list of his guys that he loves.
Yeah, it's
the Mahomes one. They will never live that down from him. He will talk about that until the day he leaves this earth. I wanted Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Last note that was probably interesting from this. Sitting in the alumni room in the 200 level of the Sabres Arena. By the way, very nice room if you've never been in there. During the interview for this story, Adams said it's not true that he's unwilling to stand up to Terry Pegula or have disagreements with him. Adams says he was honest with Pegula about what went wrong and where he's made mistakes. He thinks the team needs to improve in puck management, team defense, and special teams.
Oh, you mean the game of hockey? Yeah, I agree with that. God, no shit, Kevin. Get some players in here that know how to play a little bit better. I'm just going to put it in the most simple terms I know.
It's actually incredible that clearly he made a point in saying team defense and then special teams, two responsibilities of which are kind of in Marty Wilford's ballpark.
Yep. Does that spell writing on the wall? Maybe.
I mean, maybe it does.
It's like I said last episode. They brought in players to try and fill solutions that the coaching staff should be able to come up with.
I would just love to pick his brain. Be like, what about special teams? Why did it go wrong last year? Because you said last year that special teams need to improve. And actually, you said the year before that special teams need to improve. And I mean, the penalty kill's made strides, I suppose, but
Mm-hmm.
the power play has. This is going to be year 3, and honestly, like year 4 or 5, because it's always been an issue. For a few years, it didn't matter because you were out of the race, but here we are again. Like, what exactly do you think is going wrong here?
Man, I think they'll figure it out eventually. It's a numbers game, right?
Yeah. Sure.
No, we know what's going wrong. Like, I used to complain about the zone entries all the time with this power play. I still do. Either way, I think they've gotten better with that.
Yeah, they were like one of the best teams over the course of the whole season.
With controlled entry. Yes, with controlled entry. I just saw a stat today that I think they're 3rd in the league in controlled entry percentage for a team in the league. Mm-hmm. But I'm just going to circle back to what I've been saying the last probably few episodes. Like, they just lack high-end scoring talent. Outside of Tage Thompson, who also goes on his own cold streaks, who do you have that's just going to give you insane points, like a Mitch Marner stat line, over the course of a season?
I would say it's more playmaking, but I know where you're getting at. Just because, obviously, we've still been towards the top of the league, and at least 5-on-5 goal scoring, definitely not power play. But I see what you mean. Like, that's why we need to make an aggressive move and, add someone. Mitch Marner, Jason Robertson, like, those are 200-point players that are out there.
Lead us to the promised land, Jarmo. This is what you were brought in for, brother.
I already said in our group chat, do it, Jarmo. I'm not even going to say, like, do it, Kevin. I'm just going to be like, Jarmo, do it. Come on.
Do it, Jarmo. And he has to go run it up the flagpole to Kevyn Adams, who in turn has to run it up the flagpole to Terry Pegula.
Yep.
It's all you, Jarmo. You got this, buddy.
Save us. The other thing I was just thinking, like, Kevyn Adams, how many times has he said, me and Terry talk every day? Terry's invested. We talk every day. Like, is that really a good thing? Like, should you be talking to the owner every single day about something?
Can I answer that for you?
Sure.
No.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, why are you talking, like, I don't know, like, you don't talk about big organizational stuff every single day with the owner, or like if you're talking to him every single day, you're talking about lower end things. He's micromanaging. That's what he's doing at the end of the day. Like it's crazy. It's crazy.
This is our owner, guys. He's got to live with it.
It's a miracle that the Bills
he's not
are good
selling
with the same owner.
Maybe Bean he just told him to F off early on, and then they started winning, so he was just like, okay, I guess he knows what he's doing, and he just walked away.
Well, it's probably a mix of that, and Terry probably thinks he knows more about hockey and probably didn't think he knew as much about football.
Maybe.
We've been speculating that for a long time. At this point, it's worn on me, Just it is what it is, and you just got to live with it, and you got to hope it works.
Yep. Bad owners do win championships. It's not impossible. It happens all the time, actually, but definitely makes it harder to get there.
So, very, very good article by Matthew Fairburns. A lot of insight, not a ton of new information, a couple new things. Mostly confirmation of things that we had thought to be true, but the fact that there is confirmation, it's just obviously not the most encouraging, I don't know what you would call it, just how the organization communicates. But Jarmo Kekalainen is here. Hopefully that changes a little bit. Hopefully that impacts how things are done, how maybe the hierarchy works. We shall see. So I know that we discussed a few of the names last episode. Somebody asked us about a certain Dallas Star. I think we've brought up Rossi a few times over the past few episodes, but I feel like this is a good time to kind of discuss how, while sure they're in the Rossi conversation, supposedly. You have 3 prime players here in Marco Rossi, who scored 60 points for the Minnesota Wild last year, playing in their top 6, filling in for, like Joel Eriksson-Ek was out for a large part of that season and really helping that team continue to win games despite being bombarded by injuries. But more specifically, you are going to have Mitch Marner hit the free agent market. And something that we've theorized and we tossed around last episode, especially since they were just eliminated, Jason Robertson might be a cap casualty for the Dallas Stars. Do you want to know what all 3 of those players have in common?
They're all going to be wearing the blue and gold next year.
Very close. Nothing is stopping them from that happening. There's no trade protection. There's nothing preventing the Sabres from being involved in these discussions. And yeah, Rossi, the Sabres have only been loosely tied to. And radio silence still to this point, not even a mention of anything with Mitch Marner and Jason Robertson. The only teams that got thrown into the mix today were by Jeff Merrick, and it was the Anaheim Ducks and the Ottawa Senators.
Ugh, the Ottawa Senators, swear to God. Better not be them.
But yeah, I mean, these are... If you want to make a big move this offseason, it's one of those 3 players, pretty much. I mean, there's probably...
So far, I mean, there's still talk of... There's still talk. Elias Pettersson, man.
That is true.
Still hope.
That is
still
true.
Hope.
There is still hope. The fact that his name is being thrown around again, does get me going. Like, there's another name out there, one that we were wholeheartedly convinced on not less than 6 months ago.
I think there's a certain Josh Norris sitting in his slot right now, and he's just not going anywhere.
Like, that's going to be the thing, right? I saw somebody on Sabres Tour today was like, yeah, like they probably should have waited to trade Dylan Cousins. And it's like, looking back, like, yeah, they probably should have. They probably should have waited. We were so goddamn desperate for a move back at the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I don't know, like Josh Norris, I still have hope for the player. I think it can still work. It's just if they are satisfied with that and they are not willing to parlay that into a better return, like the Vancouver Canucks were very clearly interested in Josh Norris at one point, and with Pettersson still being available, I don't know, kind of seems like there's a trade to be made there. I think the conversations, I mean, this team went a whole 2 months without Josh Norris last year and were able to get by. I just don't think there should be any loyalty to him, really.
I have none. I always forget he was on the team to begin with.
He played 3 games. Had 2 points in 3 games. But yeah, I think like if they are satisfied with Josh Norris as the big forward addition to this group, if he's the big change, God forbid, if we go into training camp and Kevyn Adams is like, Josh Norris is our offseason addition because he only played 3 games for us last year. It's like it's like how every team, or it's how like a team every year at the trade deadline is like, we have a bunch of trade deadline additions coming, and it's all guys on our LTIR right now. Yep. It's like nobody ever in the history of ever wants to hear that.
Don't speak that into existence,
I was gonna say,
please, because
bring that up.
This situation can't happen again. And I say again at GM Kevyn Adams being satisfied with being below average. Well, and I know you can make the excuse, oh, Josh Norris didn't play a lot and he could be good. It's like, do you understand, like, Josh Norris right now? Like, do you understand the concept that he is still kind of a mystery box, and you could parlay that mystery box into the boat that's in Vancouver, or the boat that's sitting in, I don't know if you call it, maybe like a small, like a fishing boat sitting in Minnesota. Like, anything. He's injured all the time. It's like, why are you not more worried about this? You should be looking for sustainability.
Well, it's more so like if you have capital to spend, like the fact, like we just had, people are going to gloss over it because there's so much to go over in that Fairburn article. But he laid out what he thought the key needs of the team were: puck management, team defense, special teams. Puck management and team defense, they basically go together. Like, you're looking for more defensively capable players, which is part of the reason why they got Josh Norris, which I understood. But it's 2 defensively oriented strategies to try to integrate into the team. And then you have special teams, which, I mean, yes, they've added players to fix that. Looking at you, Josh Norris, he's on the team because he scores goals on the power play. None of those, he didn't say, playmaking. He didn't say play creating. He didn't say nothing was forward based. Nothing. And just from the early onset, it just kind of seems like they're not going to do anything with the forward group. Not major, like not be one of the prime, we want Mitch Marner bad. At the end of the day, we just want to know that they tabled an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And with Jason Robertson, if somebody gives a better offer and like we look at that and say like shit, like that was a ton.
It's the name of the business.
And
That's how it works. You're not going to make every trade.
It sucks, and I know like we get on Adams for that, but we get on Adams when he says like things were close. We get mad when he says it. But I didn't get mad when they swung and missed on Jacob Chikrin because I knew they tabled the same exact offer as Ottawa, just with more pick protections, which guess what? Doing that got them Zach Benson. It's like I don't need them to go and get a superstar in Robertson or in Marner. I would really like them to because I think at the end of the day, when this team wants to compete for cups, they're going to need one. And now you have two that you are not like Jason Robertson is available for trade. Nothing is stopping you here. And most teams can't just throw $7.75 million onto the roster. And the ones that can the ones that want to probably have to move out pieces on their team to do so, as in move out salary. And that's something that Dallas wouldn't want to do. We've discussed with Robertson, Zach Benson would probably have to be the main piece. Or if Dallas wants a center, like maybe they would want Yuri Kulik. They would want NHL ready, top end, or a high end player on a rookie deal, or on a lesser deal. That's what it would take. And you had a 20-year-old and a 19-year-old playing on your top line at the end of your season. Is that a good thing? Probably not. But it also wasn't totally undeserved. It's like when you see Robertson, like there's just such an obvious fit as a trade partner there. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the same thing with someone like Elias Pettersson, as we were saying.
I just hope that he understands how the offseason going into the 2023-24 season went, with him just going, we just got to make a couple of defensive adds and we're good to go. We don't need to look at anything else. It's like, dude, you should be looking to improve every single aspect of this roster 24/7. Forward group, defensive core, goalies, coaching staff, find a new owner. I don't know. Either way, if big names are out there, you need to be in all of these conversations, even if you really don't intend on, making. You don't need to take the offer to to the finish line and then drop the ball there. It's like you could at least do more of a due diligence work. It's like I don't want to hear my GM talking about. It's like we don't need to focus on our forward group. We just need to work on our defense. This and this. It's like. Everything needs to be on the table, man, all the time. You just have to understand that this is a business that moves very quickly. In the last 5 years, this organization has moved like a snail, and it's why they've been getting passed in rebuilds. They don't do enough. And I'm not saying to Tim Murray this whole thing, but just show a pulse in the front office more than like once or twice a year.
And I think what legitimizes most of these ideas for me, this doesn't really apply to the Robertson trade because they're not looking to take on guys who are due a contract, but we have players that are rumored to be out there or who are atop of, NHL Insider's trade list. We have J.J. Peterka out there who's being talked about all over, and other fan bases drool over him, which I get it. He's a great player. You also have Bowen Byram, too. Like, there's two players that Byram is probably not a Sabre next year, almost no matter what. He's probably gone. He's probably involved in some sort of trade. Peterka, there's might be like a 50-50 chance. Like, you don't know, but it's like, if you want to make a big move, you have those two guys too. Like, I know Jonah just mentioned Benson and Kulik if we wanted to make a trade with Dallas. It's like, even like the Minnesota trade, it doesn't seem like they're asking for so much for Rossi. Like,
no,
it seems like you give them 9 and Quinn. Like, they'll take it. Like, they were asking for like a late first, I think.
Yeah, it was a late first, and then Tyson Forrester, who's he's hit 20 goals a couple times in the NHL. So I'm trying to think of like a Sabres comparable. It probably would be I guess it would sort of be Quinn-ish. Like it would kind of be Quinn.
But then you got the first round pick that's higher.
You would have
you
to
got
up,
the 9th.
Yeah, you would just have to up the first.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I still think that's like a steal for Rossi. I mean, you have to pay him, and it's rumored he's asking for a 7x7, might be a little higher, but I just feel like you have the ammo to do something. You have a first round pick. You have Byram. You have Peterka. You have other young players. Like,
it's like there needs to be change.
yeah,
We're just hungry for this. Just there's better players out there, and I understand wanting to be an organization that crafts their young draft talent and molds them into their own, but it's just not how it works all the time. You're not gonna bat 1,000 with all your prospects being in your lineup, and I feel like for the past 4 years they've just been hoarding these guys to the point where it's like we draft Osland and Kulik and Savoy 3 years ago. You got your trade value out of Savoy. Great job. You got a Ryan McLeod, which is great. You should be doing more of that. Yuri Kulik is on your roster now, and was playing you first line center. If you look at Noah Osland now, it's like he's in his D3 year. He's got no value anymore. If you would have maybe flipped him a year or two ago, you could have gotten more out of him. It's like a car. It's depreciating as we speak. You got to move, especially if there's no spots in the lineup for these guys. What are you going to do? You're just going to let them depreciate until they go back to Europe?
Well, and jumping back to Marner, for example. Well, actually, Marner and Robertson. What was one of the two teams that was rumored to be a team to watch for Jason Robertson? Well, it was the Anaheim Ducks. And who was supposedly getting a really big offer ready for Mitch Marner? Well, it's supposedly the Anaheim Ducks. And I'll put this in perspective for you. This past season, the Anaheim Ducks, according to Spot Track, had the 10th most amount of cap space in hockey this season. They had $5 million through the whole way. Last year, they had the most cap space in the NHL. $13 million open. 22-23, third most. $10 million open in cap space the whole season. 21-22, the only team with more cap space than the Sabres with $21 million open. And then in 2021, it was the first year where they were like, out of that, they were 19th. They had zero money to spend. So basically, in the 4 years post-COVID season, the Anaheim Ducks have been a cheaper team than the Buffalo Sabres. They have spent less money than you, and it's probably been given less coverage just because they're a West Coast team, and it's not like here, whatever. But that team has been cheaper than you, and they're in on this conversation. They know it's time to win. They're sick of the losing. They obviously just hiring Joe Quenneville is a very bold move. And now they're in on Robertson's, are a team to watch for Robertson, and they're legitimately getting an offer together for Mitch Marner. So, no excuse like why you can't be right alongside them.
Absolutely. I'm sure there will be other names that will come out. Like, even, I know people are kind of more just throwing around the idea, but Noah Dobson, like, check in on him if he's, available. Like, there's going to be other names. If they really just want to focus more on defense, maybe, find your fit there. But there's names out there. There's no excuse not to be at least involved in these conversations and to not make a big offer on at least, like, one of these guys. Because they all can fit here. They all, pretty much all the 4 players we just mentioned, the 4 forwards, all have two-way capabilities. Other than Robertson's more of a scorer, but the other ones, all playmakers, like what we need. Like, it's just no excuse not to be involved in some of this.
And I think it's fair to bring up the point that usually they do kind of operate in the shadows. Like Taylor Hall, for example, there was no inkling that was going to happen. We didn't even know if the Sabres were going to make an offer. Honestly, it kind of made sense that they wouldn't, considering they just signed Jeff Skinner like the previous year, but they still did it, and that came out of nowhere. And same thing with Jarmo Kekalainen. Like, nobody thought the Blue Jackets were even going to put in a bid, and Johnny Gaudreau signs. Not only does he sign in Columbus, he signs for way under what he could have got. So, look, I get it. Things come out of nowhere. The Ryan McLeod trade came out of nowhere. Oftentimes, the guy that ends up the Sabres end up trading for, it's someone that or acquiring. You never see it coming, and there's no whispers of it. It's not too often where it's like the Casey Middlestat trade, where it was like, okay, like yeah, they're probably trading for Bowen Byram here.
Yeah.
If you're really reading between the lines.
Even Norris. I mean, we knew Cousins was probably going, but no one knew Norris.
Nobody thought. I mean, I think Ottawa was brought up maybe like in a fourth period article as being interested, but that's basically just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, no notable insider talked about those two being swapped. So this team does like to surprise you. So you know what?
Oh, they surprise you, all right.
We'll see. The offseason hasn't even started yet. We're already bitching and complaining about things that they're not doing when it's impossible to do anything right. I mean, it's not. You can trade for Jason Robertson right now. Nothing's stopping you. But things are not going to pick up for another 3 weeks. But hey, we're down to 3 weeks. It's draft month.
Almost there. We just got to get through this last series and get to the draft. Once we hit the draft, hopefully things pick up.
I mean, and the combine is this week. I feel like you're going to see a lot more rumors come out this week as well. So,
percent.
Hopefully, that'd be fun.
It's always fun. We're almost there. We got one more series to sit through, and then it's where the fun begins. How about that Stanley Cup final?
I was
got any
about
thoughts,
to say.
Predictions? Hold on. Shout out Jeff Skinner.
Yes.
Got back into the lineup.
My king.
Got back in the lineup. Sucks that the way he got in was the way it did. But he came in, subbed in for Zach Hyman. Got put on the third line. Scored in the first period. That's what it's all about.
Couldn't be happier for him.
This is out of all the former Sabres that have gone on to at least some sort of semblance of playing deep in the playoffs, this is 100% the one I'm most happy about. Yeah. By a long shot.
How much money did you put on the Oilers at the start of the year?
Did I put money on
You
something?
put them. You tweeted about it.
Oh, probably because of the Skinner.
Wait a minute.
The Sabres curse.
Yeah, I think you did. I'll pull it up. Hold on. Give me a sec.
Skinner will keep the Sabres curse living on.
Hold on.
Do I have this in my FanDuel?
It's probably hypothetical.
I may have cashed out on it.
Oh,
you cashed, dude.
Let me see.
Here, I'll pull it up on screen right now. If nobody's watching, now's the time to look at the screen. Hold on. There it is. There's the tweet. Jeff Skinner is signed with Edmonton Oilers. $11 to win 110.
Did you cash out?
Did you cash out on that?
Yeah, I did.
$11?
Come on.
I don't know, man. I was just like, I don't know.
That's unbelievable.
I needed it for other.
You needed it for a sandwich?
Yes, I did need a sandwich.
I am so disappointed in you.
When did I cash out on this? Was it when March Madness was going on?
Did you do like the day of? You just take it out?
I may have.
I mean, oh my God.
Wow.
It is funny, though.
I forgot about that.
Maybe that's when
Look at that. Look at this.
Corey Perry effect, yeah.
Cash out.
That's probably why I cashed out, guys. I figured out Corey Perry was on the team.
He did it the day of. That disappoints me.
Oh
well.
It's all right. I don't really like going back into my FanDuel. I was like, I hadn't had any bets since like March Madness. Like I'm barely on that thing.
Gotta get back on your DGen grind.
I don't even like sports betting, to be honest with you. I feel like it's too time consuming in my own head. You actually have to. You can't just
You're just not built for it.
Maybe I'm not, and that's fine. I don't care. I don't need a sports bet to have a good time. I got this. I could scream into the void.
Oh, well.
I do think the Oilers are going to win, though.
Oilers
say Panthers. Oh, man. I don't know.
I don't think McDavid's getting denied again.
Agreed.
Somebody did bring up that we do kind of forget Draisaitl was hurt last year.
Mm-hmm.
But no Hyman for the Oilers, obviously. Ekholm's been playing through injury. I don't know. Is Skinner's bubble is Stuart Skinner's bubble about to pop? He's been playing some good hockey. Been playing really good. I don't know.
He's only good when they play the Stars, and then he goes back to being shit.
Yeah, I don't.
Jeff Skinner is going to carry this team to a championship.
Yes, Legacy Series.
This is for all the marbles.
I know. I'm not ready for the immediate. There goes another Sabre winning a cup right after.
And I know why Jonah
It's
mainly
inevitable.
doesn't want the Oilers to win it. He wants to keep the Ryan McLeod propaganda alive.
I do. It sucks. I mean, it is crazy. Well, it's actually, there's two reasons. A, I don't want Stan Bowman to win anything. B, it is incredible, dude. They lost McLeod, Fogle, Holloway, and Broberg. All of those. And they, at least, they replaced Broberg. They got Jake Wallman, who's been great. But, I mean, geez, other than Skinner and Arvidsson, I mean, those were the changes in the bottom six, and they proved to not be as good. And, they've made it work. They do not look phased.
You see, Kevin, you can make major roster changes and still be a good team.
I know.
I will say, I don't know if I want to see Evander Kane win one, though.
Yeah, whatever.
That is what it is.
I
swear to
been
God,
gone
if people
so
bring
long.
that up, oh, I can't believe the Sabres
That
let
will be
Evander Kane go.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Dude,
I don't mean
that guy's
Sabres
last
related.
game played as a Sabre was before. I don't even know. I'm just trying to think of a world.
It was before Dahlin was on the team.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Rasmus Dahlin wasn't. He never played with the guy.
He was here for 2 years. Wasn't he traded mid 2017-18?
Yeah, he had one. He had two goods. He was a good player for them. He was, but
He was fine.
they couldn't keep him around.
Water under the bridge.
We shall see who comes out on top.
We shall.
I hope it's a quick series.
Yeah, me too.
It's not.
My man, well, actually, I lied. Can we not do a 3-0 comeback again? Because last year was torture. They go up 3-0. You think they're going to win this going away, and Edmonton just ekes out a victory. Oh, they eked out another one, and there goes another. And it's is this fucking offseason ever going to start?
It got so bad we had teams trading before the game ended.
Oh, yeah.
The Linus Ullmark trade went down before Game 7, puck drop.
I forgot about that.
It's I've had enough of your bullshit, guys. You've been playing for 3 more weeks.
And all that just for Florida to still win.
The season, I feel like, does keep on dragging on, though. It's going too long.
I guess. I feel like it's all relative, though. What are you going to show? Are you going to play less regular season games, or? I mean, maybe you can do less. I mean, if you want, there should absolutely be less preseason.
Yeah, less preseason.
But even if you shorten that to 4 games, that's what, a week and a half off the calendar.
It's still something. I think it's enough.
And there's 3 2-day gaps, I think, in this series too. Maybe 4. There's quite a few 2-day gaps.
It's the final, though. I feel like if the Sabres are in the final, I would want some long rest days too.
I agree. I get it.
I feel like
I just feel like
this
it
is
goes
I feel like
right up to the off season. That's my only issue.
I guess. But then the cup gets awarded, and then everything happens immediately after. I don't know. I think the problem is this is year 3 of the second and third rounds just being
dog wash,
just not being fun to watch. I mean, it's I don't know. You're getting even just seeing the Sabres and the Hurricanes, the throwbacks to 06. It's that was such think about how that series went. Just the Sabres with all the injuries and clawing and fighting their way to get to Game 7, and it's you watch these 2 series, they're wrapped up in 5. Carolina, Florida had one interesting game, and it was the last one. Edmonton basically won. Probably should have swept that series against Dallas if they don't fall apart in Game 1. Some very, very meh hockey.
Just bringing up more ammo to use to go back to the old format.
Yeah, I mean, it's more so. It's not like the reseeding for me. I always think the reseeding's dumb. It's like, do you want to win the cup or not? If you can't win, you weren't meant to win the Stanley Cup if you can't beat the team you're playing. Like, I get home ice matters and everything, but I never really cared for that. Now for me, it's just like the quality of hockey just sucks. Like, the first round is so much fun, and then it just comes to a grinding halt.
Yep.
That's just my take.
No, it's a valid take. I'm kind of over the
Thanks,
first round being as good as it is. I mean,
it's
like
fun.
the first
It's very fun. It's always a ton
It
of
is
fun.
fun. It's kind of like almost like a March Madness type of vibe, but it's like,
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for.
I want to see good hockey down the stretch. I don't want to see the friggin' Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals just to get curb stomped every year with their bullshit hockey.
I agree. There's probably no perfect way of doing it, because then you reseed and you got one playing eights, and I mean, I guess you have a 1 versus 8 and a 2 versus 7 format right now, but kind of sometimes, like in the East it was, because the wild card teams were the worst teams, but it's the first round would probably suffer as a result, but oh well.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I don't know. Things to talk about when the next CBA comes up. All right, we did an hour and a half. Very impressive. Only one piece of news.
Yeah, really.
We love yapping.
We love each other.
What was that game that we just got awarded today or whatever? The rivalry game, USA.
Oh,
versus
the
Canada?
women's USA. Yeah, I mean the women's Olympic teams are coming here, or prior to the
That's
Olympics.
what that was.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, USA Canada, the two women's
Yep.
teams are coming to play. I mean, they're calling it a rivalry game, so I think it's just an exhibition, but that's pretty cool, getting that done before the Olympics. All right. I think we've gone on long enough for this one. Don't know when we'll talk next. Don't know if anything is really imminent right now, but we'll find a way, whether it's this week or maybe we wait till next week. Obviously, we will be back to talk to you guys, so hopefully, as JP alluded to earlier, with the Combine happening this week, more rumors and stuff begins to pop up, and it gives us more to talk about. So we shall see. But if you don't have anything left to say, I guess we can sign off here. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at The Sabre Report. Also on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at The Sabre Report. If you listen to this on YouTube, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Also, be sure to give us your thoughts down in the comments section down below. We're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers. We're getting very close. So if you like the video, be sure to subscribe. As always, go give our friends over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast a listen. Just released an episode last week. Obviously, football season is pretty dead at this moment, but I did hear that there was like a pretty sizable football wedding as of late, so I don't know. I'm sure on their next episode, they'll probably rehash that. Larry David being there was like, I thought that was hilarious. I guess he knows Haley's dad.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was like, they had to have like worked together on a project, something, right? But I guess it's not. It's more of a family relation thing. And like, there were no other celebrities there, really. It's like I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world that Larry David was like one of a few.
Yeah, just a bunch of Bills players.
Just gets lost.
He just wandered in.
He'd be the guy to just get lost and wander around.
Yeah, he just so happened to be wearing a tux that day. But stay tuned for their next release. And then if you want updates for our podcast, be sure to follow us at Sabre Report Pod. With that, I think that'll do it for today. So we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening. Take care. And as always, go Sabres.
Go Sabres.
Go Sabres.